Today, with the ringing of our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace in the world and here at home. We acknowledge that the lands we love are the unceded, ancestral, and historical lands of the Yavapai people. And now the choir will sing, "We Will Stand With You." Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of listening to them practice yesterday. It was great. So good morning to everyone who is here in person and on Zoom, and welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Kelsey Wilkes, pronouns she, her, and I'm your worship associate today. At Granite Peak, our ministry is guided by our mission statement, which goes as follows. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, and promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Our children over the age of 5 are being taught by Sandra Palacios in our Children's Faith Development Building across the street. This is what they're learning today. The monarch butterfly is significant to Dia de los Muertos as a symbol of the returning spirit of the deceased, a belief rooted in ancient Aztec traditions. They connect monarch butterflies with departed souls. Students will use tissue paper monarch butterflies for the ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos, which is going to be put up next week, I believe. I don't know, I'm looking at Karen for affirmation over there. Oh, thank you to everybody who makes this Sunday morning possible, whether you're an usher or a greeter, a kitchen volunteer, a musician or a teacher or a techie, or you just showed up to sweep the sidewalks or to put up the new sign for the minister's parking space. We're grateful that you are here at the service. I'm always happy to see smiling faces on Sunday morning and to see unfamiliar faces as well, and I'm glad that you have found us. If you are visiting or you're new today or just returning, please, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to join us for coffee in Davis Hall, which is across the foyer after the service. This Sunday, you may also go to the Talk with a Board Member table and chat with our board liaisons, Dawn Carrad, Facilities, and Karen Hagberg, Faith Development. So please take advantage of that opportunity to share any ideas or concerns with them. Our service auction dinner is this Friday, October 24th. If you are not attending, you can bid on items that are online, and you can pick up your catalog after the service. After the service, you can also join the drum circle, which is across the street in Faith Development. There are lots of ways to learn about all of our activities and events of this busy congregation. You can find information on our website, prescottuu.org, and updates in our weekly peek and our monthly newsletter, The View. If you have not already done so, please take a moment to put your devices on worship mode. Our worship service this morning explores the gifts of grief. I want to tell you how this topic came to be. Many years ago, my mother penned a story called A Spiritual Fable. I always wanted to include it in a service, but the timing or the right person was just never there. And then I met Jake Peterman. Jake was new to Granite Peak, having attended his first service here on August 17th. When I learned he was a grief educator and a coach, I knew the time was right. After many losses in his own life, Jake decided to become a certified grief educator and from grief to gratitude coach, as well as a grief recovery method specialist. I talked to Jake about my idea, and this service came to life. And I am grateful for his friendship and his willingness to give his message. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Karen Hagberg. Today we light the chalice with these words by Jameson R.A.C. So, let the tears fall when they come. Let the laughter rise when memories bring warmth. Let grief and joy coexist, for they are not opposites. They are just love in different forms.
Good morning. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest.
Who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid.
We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart.
We come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous.
We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith.
We come to probe and explore, who come to learn.
We bid you welcome who entered this hall as a homecoming.
Who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome.
And now please rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing our opening hymn, We Laugh, We Cry. It's number 354 in the gray hymnal. Hymnals are in the back of the room if you like to read the music, but the words will also be on the screen. Please join me in saying the words to our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service its prayer. To go together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, thus do we covenant together. As we prepare to receive the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have each Sunday when we gather here. Let us remember that this congregation is supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is the Granite Peak Holiday Giving Program. Please read about them in your order of service. If you would like to contribute online, you can go to our website, prescottuu.org. The ushers will now collect the offering, and Lena will play First Loss. Kind of got up here the same way I hike, sideways. We acknowledge the spirit of generosity expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Amen, and blessed be.
Beloved community is at the heart of Granite Peak UU congregation. As we experience this time of meditation and music, we take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns on our hearts and minds. If there is an event that moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, and especially today, grief or remembrance, you are invited to come forward and drop a pebble from this dish into our communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another.
And now Jake is going to play Going Home, and I will place the first rocks. I'm going to place them of joy. The sound is good today. Thank you, Martin. I really appreciate it a lot. May our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal water of our beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be. And now let us sing Spirit of Life. A Spiritual Fable by Kelsey Beach Hale. Only a murky gray light glides ahead of our boat. The river Styx runs black, silent, deep in the bowels of the earth. Black rock glistening with dampness rises steeply on each side of the river, forming a roof overhead. Occasionally, a crack in the rocks lets in a slit of light. The black roof silently drips, each drop cold on my head. "Stop, we're going to sink," I beseech the boatman as the frigid water laps over the boat's side. "No, never. We never sink, no matter how heavy the load. And yours is heavy," is his reply. Standing in the bow of the boat, he methodically poles on. His wispy beard is festooned with droplets of water. One hangs trembling from the end of his beaked nose. My feet, soaked from the chilling water in the boat's bottom, now rest on my bag of belongings. One great sack that is too heavy for me to lift. The river makes a sharp bend. Ahead is light, light as I have never seen before. At first, I close my eyes against the brilliance. My shivering body now feels a rush of warmth. I open my eyes. The air is suffused with light and sweet, soft scents. I make out the faint outline of the shore with a group of people standing on it. As we draw near, faces emerge. There's Uncle Harold waving. No sound do I hear, but I imagine him saying, "Welcome, kid." Next to him is Dad, holding a wiggling baby Peter. That short figure in front of Dad is Aunt Helen, walker gone, body as straight as when we rode horseback together. At the water's edge stands Mother, light outlining her slight body. All wear flowing gowns, their figures clear, yet not distinct. I stand so quickly the boat rocks. "Sit down," barks the boatman. "You're not ready." The boat never lands. "Then how do I get there?" I cry. "I must get there. What will I do with my belongings?" "You don't need them, dear," calls Mother. "Throw them overboard." Obediently, I open the heavy sack. Inside are smaller individual sacks. I pull out one. The odor of gall stings my nostril, and I find it easy to rid myself of the bag of bitterness. From the next bag wafts the scent of perfume and the faint sound of music. This is my favorite, expectation. I cling to it, not wanting to let go. "Release it, dear," again calls Mother. Reluctantly, I throw expectation into the water. "Move faster," urges the boatman. "You're not the only one. Others are waiting." My large black bag is collapsing, and it's easier to reach Doubt. I hold it close to me. "Drop it," shouts the boatman. "I can't. How do I know what will happen? How do I know I can get ashore?" "We're waiting," calls Mother, her voice light and loving. When we drop our doubts, it's so easy to get here. Black water sucks the bag into its swirling vortex, and it disappears. I feel a new lightness and almost eagerly reach for the last bag, anger. It's the heaviest, and it pulls at me. "Help me," I beg the boatman. "No, that's your bag. You brought it here. You get rid of it." As I hold the bag, the boat rocks perilously. The distance to land is too far. "Take me back," I plead. No going back. It's land or blackness of water. Your choice. Mother wades deep into the water as she is laughing. Laughing? How could she? Remember when you were stuck in a tree and you couldn't get down? You stuck out your little chin and said, "I'll do it." Well, stick out your chin now and throw. A great splash. Anger is gone. The big bag of fear that held all the small bags is now limp in the boat's bottom. "Finally, took you long enough," grumbles the boatman. "Steady." He gives me his hand, and I slip over the side into the water, no longer cold, but caressingly warm. Mother's hand holds mine, and together we walk ashore. No one speaks. It isn't necessary. At last, I know what it means to speak with the Spirit. We are one, together with love, whole. One by one, each comes to drape a light garment on me. Struggling to keep Peter from tugging at the blue robe of acceptance is Dad, who left us when I was young. He slips it over me and he kisses my forehead. In Uncle Harold's hand is a bright yellow robe. He grins as he gives me joy. Holding a red robe in her hands, Aunt Helen reaches up for me as straight as she is. I still tower over her. I bend down, and she places the robe of courage on me. Then I turn to Mother. Draped across her arms is a white robe that holds a radiant light. "Welcome, dear," she says, as Faith falls softly on my shoulders. I have come home. And now, we're going to hear a very special anthem, and Karen Denny's going to explain how this came to be.
Hello? It didn't work. The piece that you're going to hear is called "Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep." It is based on a poem that was written about 100 years ago. And it is very special to Rick and I for two reasons. We sang it at the memorial service for his sister-in-law with our son and daughter-in-law. And the second reason is because our daughter-in-law is a very gifted composer, and she is the composer of the music that this poem is set to. Her name is Catherine Denny. This is the poem. There is an insert in your order of service, so you can take it home and keep it. It is one that has been very nice to read through the years. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints upon the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I'm not there. I did not die.
My name is Jake Peterman, he, him. First, I'd like to say thank you to Kelsey for sharing your mother's story and for inviting me to participate in today's service. To all of you, I'd like to say thank you for such an incredibly warm welcome into this community. If you showed up today knowing what today's topic was, which is grief, congratulations on your courage. If you showed up today and did not know what you were getting yourself into, please stick around anyway. We're going to gently explore this common and shared experience. What percentage of people do you think will experience loss and grief in their lifetime? Probably 100% of us, right? And that's why we need to talk about it. As in Kelsey's mother's story, our backpacks start to fill when we're little. We start with small disappointments, and those lead to major losses in our lives. But it is absolutely possible for bitterness to dissolve, for expectation to release, for doubts to ease, for anger to lighten, for fear to disappear. As acceptance begins to tug at us, as joy smiles on us, as courage props us up, and as faith welcomes us home. And my favorite line, we are one, together with love, whole. Now I know it may sound crazy to associate words like grateful, recovery, gifts with the word grief. I thought so myself. But I have personally experienced all of those unexpected treasures while working through my own grief. But before we get to the transformative side of grief, let's do a little Grief Education 101. Generally speaking, we're a grief avoidance society. You know, if I just don't look it in the eye, it'll skip right over me, and I can't get hurt. And we're uncomfortable sometimes being around other people who are grieving, like it's contagious or something. But grief is just our normal and natural response to loss of any kind. When I use the word grief, how many of you automatically think of death? Yet there are so many other types of loss that can cause us to grieve. The end of a relationship, our own health issues, a change in our career, retirement, and there are intangible losses as well, such as a loss of trust or a loss of safety. We're also, generally speaking, a grief illiterate society. How many of you have heard of the 5 stages of grief? Me too. So when I went to my first grief support group several years ago, I thought, okay, just give me the steps I need to take over the next 10 weeks. Let's get this over with. Send me on my way. Thank you very much. Of course, that's not what happened at all. There are no linear steps, and there is no timeline either. You see, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's pioneering work identified 5 emotional stages that a dying person may go through after being diagnosed with a terminal illness. But in our quick-fix society, we latched onto those stages and started applying them to grief and loss. But even if we look at the first stage, which is denial, we can see that that doesn't normally apply to grief after loss. Most people are not in denial when they've lost someone. Another part of our grief illiteracy is that we don't know what to say to people who are grieving. I'm sure I've said things to people in the past that were meant to be comforting, but probably were not. So here's a pro tip. If you're about to start a sentence with the words "at least," please stop and think about it. Chances are your words are not going to be comforting to someone currently in pain over a loss. So here are some examples. At least you were together for X number of years. At least you're young. You can find someone else. At least you have more children. And a common one, at least they're not suffering anymore. I've said that. I'm sure many of us have. Now, while all these statements may technically be true, they're not addressing the grieving person's emotional pain in that moment. I'm not trying to shame anyone who said these things. I'm just encouraging us all to consider what might actually be helpful to someone who's in pain. Perhaps we should stop trying to come up with words and learn to just listen. Really listen, even when it's uncomfortable. A lot of people only need to be heard, to have someone witness their pain, to have their feelings acknowledged. The process of grieving can be so lonely and isolating. Your world can become so small. So reach out and offer an ear. Let them talk as much or as little as they'd like. Ask if they'd like to share stories about their loved ones. And if you want to do something tangible for someone, just go ahead and tell them you're going to do it, if it's appropriate, if you're close enough to them and you're not crossing any boundaries. Asking someone who's in the midst of grieving to let you know what they need can put an extra burden on them. In fact, they may not even know what they need. If you're grieving right now, I'd like to acknowledge and hopefully validate what you may be experiencing. Grief is exhausting. The pain can hit unexpectedly. There are so many secondary losses. You may experience many feelings in one day. Brain fog is real. You may lose your patience. You may have physical issues. Grief is disorienting. I want to encourage you to honor your feelings and your own process of navigating through grief. Each person's grief is unique. Why? Because each relationship is unique, even within the same family. Trust yourself. You are your own expert in your own grief. Other well-meaning people may try to fix you, but guess what? You're not broken, so you don't need to be fixed. Other people may try to compare losses as if we could place them into some hierarchy of pain. But if there is love there, there's going to be grief. The goal is to try to keep moving forward step by step so that one day we remember with more love than pain. I'm sure we've all heard, oh, it'll just get better with time, as if time itself can heal us. No, it's what we do with that time that helps us heal. Sure, our grief may change shape over time, it may feel less intense, but it doesn't necessarily get smaller. What actually happens is you grow around your grief. So I invite you, especially if you're feeling stuck, to stay curious. Read books. Go to support groups. Listen to podcasts. You're not leaving your loved ones behind by continuing to grow in your own life. That's not possible. I'd like to share a unique definition of grief that I read in the Grief Recovery Handbook by John W. James and Russell Friedman. Grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. Let me read that again. Grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. So let's unpack that a little bit with a few examples. When someone dies, there's an end of a familiar pattern of behavior. When we move or change jobs, there's a change in a familiar pattern of behavior. And all of these can cause conflicting feelings. When someone who's been sick dies, we can experience a sense of relief that they are no longer suffering, but at the same time, we are terribly sad that they're gone. When we change jobs, we may miss our old coworkers, at least some of them. At the same time, be excited about our new company and our new position. I moved here less than 3 months ago, and I left behind some of the dearest friends that I will ever have because of all the things we went through. I miss them, and we are very deliberate about keeping in touch, but it's not the same as spending time together in person. At the same time, I'm excited about the opportunities I'm discovering here. So you can see how these conflicting feelings come into play when we experience great change or loss. So now let's move towards the unexpected gifts that can be found through the experience of grief. But in order to get there, I've got to give you some examples of my own life and share a little bit of my own story from the past several years so you can get a sense of what's possible and how transformative grief can be. Now I'm going to tell you up front, I never ever imagined I'd be speaking about grief or I'd be facilitating grief groups. Grief chose me, I did not choose it. Yes, I earned some certifications to help me help others, but only after plenty of, I call it, on-the-job training. So I was happily married and helping to raise 2 stepkids when who I consider my own kids. And I was attending a wonderful UU congregation in Georgia, and I had started a new career to better provide for my family. You know, many of my dreams had come true, and I felt like I could finally relax in the world until January 2018, when my intuition compelled me to ask my wife, "Are you having an affair?" To which she replied, "Yes." And that's the moment my heart burst into a million pieces. And that's when I learned the term betrayal trauma. After many months of forgiving, talking, crying, trying to figure out how to save my family, eventually she asked me for some space, temporarily. So I made arrangements to move temporarily into a house with my sister that was 2 doors up the street from my parents on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. I didn't realize I would never see my kids again, and I haven't seen them to this day. I brought the family dog with me because I was the true dog person in the house. My sister was amazingly supportive. She would listen to me process for hours. She made sure I ate. So being near family was an unexpected gift. But my job performance started to suffer greatly to the point that I quit. I had planned to travel for a bit to help get my head clear again. And a few weeks before I was to leave, my dear friend and travel companion died suddenly from brain cancer. I only traveled to the funeral. 6 months later, New Year's Eve of 2019 into 2020 was a fun day filled with family and friends. Around midnight, my sister suggested that she and I walk down to the beach at the end of our street to see some fireworks. She was upset about a guy, and when she stopped crying, we hugged and said, "I love you." As we started walking back across the small 4-lane beach highway, I noticed one car coming, so I stopped on the median, thinking my sister was right next to me. When I looked back for her, she was actually almost completely across the last 2 lanes. I thought she had time to make it, but she didn't. I watched helplessly as she was struck by that one lone car. Time stopped. I only remember snapshots of that night. I remember jumping up and down to protect her from other cars. I finally remembered to call 911. I kept squeezing her hand and reassuring her she would be okay, but she died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. When the person who hit her called the hospital to check on her, I had to tell them that she had died. I had to tell her friend who was staying with us for the holiday. And then I had to tell my parents that their worst nightmare had come true and they had lost a child. The only way on and off our street was at the beach end, so for 5.5 years, until I left in a U-Haul to move out here, I relived that tragic scene every time I left the house. Just a couple of months later, in March of 2020, we all know what happened. The pandemic started. And at the same time, my little dog went blind in about 5 days, and by the end of May, she died at only 6 years old from a rare disease. I was now completely alone in a house I didn't want to be in the first place, but at least I still had my parents right down the street. Until July 4th, when my father had a couple of strokes. He was in the hospital for several days until they transferred him to a rehab facility. So almost every day, rain or shine, hot or cold, I held my mother's small, fragile hand as we trekked through the grass to stand outside his window because we couldn't go in because of COVID. He had forgotten to use his phone, so someone suggested using a baby monitor to communicate with him, which meant we were reliant on the overworked staff to keep it plugged in. Sometimes they moved him to a different room, and we had to search for him. In the midst of these daily treks, my divorce was finally scheduled at the end of September. No one could come with me except for my lawyer because of COVID. Yet somehow my ex-wife had her sister there and her best friend, and I listened while people who used to tell me they loved me told the judge that I was a bum who never did anything for the kids and never contributed to the household. I was betrayed yet again by multiple people this time. That's the day I learned about the lack of justice in the justice system. On one of our daily treks in early December, I heard my dad's cough through the baby monitor. And several days later, I found myself standing in his emergency room, covered from head to toe in PPE, personal protective equipment, holding my phone in a Ziploc bag so he could hear my mother's voice one last time. They had been married for 66 years. 4 days later, a nurse held her phone to his ear so we could all say goodbye. For the next 3.5 years, it was just Mom and me on the street. And eventually she stopped going to the grocery store with me, and she stopped going to her little Presbyterian church, even when I was substituting on the piano. Her dementia started to get worse, and she decided, while she still could, to move into an assisted living apartment 3 hours away near my sister. So now I was truly alone, in a house, on a street, in a state I did not want to be in. I lost my sense of purpose because I no longer had her to take care of. Last November, only 3 months after she moved, my sister called to say my mom was in the hospital. I was able to say goodbye to her over the phone, and then I decided to jump in the car at 9 p.m. to try to see her one last time. She was still alive at midnight when I arrived. The next day, they sent her back to her apartment under hospice care. For the next 2.5 weeks, I traveled back and forth 5 or 6 times, telling her goodbye every time because I didn't know if I would ever see her again. I watched the light fade from my happy, always smiling mother's eyes, and it was one of the saddest things I've ever witnessed. She died this past December, and that was the piano piece I played for her service because she had given me my love of music. So as you might imagine, I felt so lonely, so isolated, so abandoned. My world became very small. I had lost my most avid supporters and advocates. As soon as I thought I was getting back up on my knees, something else would come along and knock me back down. I didn't know how I was supposed to survive. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I felt sorry for myself. I wondered why me? Until one day, I realized, why not me? There's nothing special about me to keep me from experiencing all of those losses. And besides, the illness and the tragedies and the death had actually happened to my loved ones, not to me. I was still here, so I had better figure out a way to cope for the rest of my life. I eventually learned that life happens for me, not to me. Over the course of those years, I managed to attend multiple grief support groups, multiple divorce support groups, and participated in multiple grief recovery method workshops. And they helped me so much, I eventually decided to get certified and become a facilitator myself. And that's when the gifts of grief and loss began to show themselves. I discovered I had a knack for listening well and using my intuition to help others shift their perspective or dig a little deeper into their emotions so they could experience deeper healing. Another gift, my compassion grew. I recognized my strength and my resilience. I found meaning and purpose in serving others. Trying to make something good out of all of that made me feel like I was somehow honoring all of the loved ones I had lost. When people leave us, we're oftentimes left with things we wish had been different, better, or more. We might be left with unrealized hopes and dreams and expectations. So one of the greatest gifts that can come from loss is realizing how important it truly is to communicate with people in our lives while we are here. We also have a chance to consider what we want our own legacy to be and to take action towards building it. But maybe the most impactful gift I have personally received from grief is learning to reach for gratitude in order to find inner peace. When I started to feel grateful for what my loved ones brought into my life, I knew I was going to be okay. And as I gained insights into my losses, the things I became grateful for astounded me. Like, how had I received the unexpected gift of time with 3 of my family members in the last years of their lives? I got to hold their hands and be present with them as they began making their transitions out of this world. My sister did not have to suffer alone. Now, I can't tell you, and I may never know why I had to lose my wife and my kids in order to be present for my sister and parents, but I can tell you, without hesitation, that I am now grateful to my ex-wife for many, many things. And frankly, if she had not done what she did, I would not have ended up in that house, on that street, in that state. So finally, I want to share a quote with you, and I wish I know who to attribute it to. I don't. If you recognize it and you know, please let me know. And the quote is, "Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give, but cannot. All of that unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go." I find that so touching, even after reading it many, many times. And as I was preparing for this talk, I started to wonder, is there a place for that love to go? Can I give some of that love to myself by being gentle and patient while I grieve and heal? Can I give some of that love to others by being kind and compassionate while they grieve and heal? How can I spread the love and light that I inherited from the people I've lost out into the world as the world grieves and heals? I invite and encourage you to ask yourself these same questions. Is there some place for at least some of that unspent love to go? Now that would be perhaps the most powerful gift of grief. Thank you.
Okay, wow. I've been watching lots of faces out there, and I know a lot of us have grief, have gone through grief, and I hope this was uplifting for you to realize that you're on a journey, and we're on that journey with you. And now we are going to sing one of my most favorite songs in the whole world, and Bev's too, Blue Boat Home. And Then afterwards, Karen Hagberg will give our closing words. So it is in the Teal Hymnal 1064, but the words will also be on the screen. If you would rise.
One of my faves, too. This is a blessing for all of you. Need a second. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken you in a rainbow of delight. When the canvas frays in the boat of thoughts and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so, may a slow wind wrap these words of love around you as an invisible cloak to bind your life. So may it be.
And now we will extinguish the chalice. If you'll please join me in these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you. Our service is over, but now our time together, embracing one another's journey begins. But before you go, we need to get ready for the service auction. So as you are able, we will move chairs to the sides of the sanctuary. Additionally, as a reminder, in Davis Hall, after the service, we will be celebrating the success of empty bowls during coffee hour. We have extra goodies to eat, a raffle giveaway for volunteers, and everyone will have a chance to purchase a handmade ceramic bowl and think about their holiday giving. I have one last thing I want to say, which is that the elements of this service just miraculously fell together as different things happened. This morning I decided, I'll hang a new quilt up here, and it happens to be butterflies. And they're doing butterflies across the street. And Jake, in his sweetness, was able to weave my mother's story. And Karen's readings also pulled that together. And when I had said to Karen, do you think you guys could sing "Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep"? And she says, my daughter-in-law has composed an incredibly complicated piece of music that we're going to learn in 2 days. And they pulled it off, and I am grateful to all of you. And now Lena will play some exit music. Thank you. We'll see you in Davis Hall.